Let's get on Zoom now and speak with Dr. Kobe Mensah. He's a political marketing specialist with the University of Ghana Business School. Thanks so much, Doc, for your time.
Thank you for having me, Aisha.
Also
Evans,
joining us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Also joining us is Evans Nimako. He's Director of Elections for the NPP. Let me start with you, Dr. Kobe Mensah. Now, I just want your assessment of the just ended NPP Regional Executive Elections, especially with allegations of vote buying that characterize the elections.
Thank you, Aisha. I think that generally the election has been very competitive, obviously for several reasons. Of course, it's from the beginning of the internal elections, there were quite a number of, issues in terms of, commotions in the party, people accusing the national leadership of trying to manipulate the processes. Of course, quite a number of press conferences were held. Party leadership took action, or they announced action being taken. But I think that going into the regionals, I think it was quite somehow organized than the previous ones that we saw. So it means that the party leadership actually took some good measures that actually calmed the situations down. But notwithstanding, we still had some pockets of issues being raised. Some of the contests being taken to court and all that. But I'm thinking that the recent one had been much more quite organized and quite well organized than the previous one. Now the issue of money, it makes it difficult for us to think whether candidates have actually won the elections on their own electability strength, because no doubt, I mean, the reports have been flown around here and there about people really paying money. Whether the monies were paid to individuals or to the party, and whether it was good or not, I think any forms of huge sums of money in elections is not something that we have to be proud of, because certainly that is what would lead to the kind of corruption issues that we're hearing. Because when people see political party participation as an investment, then they will come up to recoup whatever they have put in. It's a sacrificial job, and so. The thinking is that if you have actually invested in the process, you're actually putting yourself forward for people to elect you to come and do something good for them. Now, if you have to put your money in and you expect to recoup, that is what we get in the corruption cases that we have.
Mr. Nimako, thankfully you're here with us. I'm grateful for your time. Has the allegations of vote buying come to your notice? And if it has, what does the party intend to do about this, especially because we know it will affect the quality of people who will be running the affairs of the party at the regional level?
Aisha, thank you for having me, and good afternoon to your viewers and Dr. Kobe Mensah. The party has just finished the conduct of regional annual delegate conference in 15 out of the 16 regions. Largely, I'll say it has been very successful. I tend to disagree with Doc on some of his harsh comment that commotion conference somehow better organized. I think I will not be asking for praises from him though, but what the party put in place, the machinery that the party put in place has done the work in accordance and in strict compliance with the party's rules and regulations. The committees were composed of senior party members who really understand the mood of the party and how things must be organized in times like this. The elections were supervised by the Electoral Commissioner stipulated by the Political Parties Act. And so it is the EC that helped. Along the line, we got the police service to provide the quality of security services, and you also it yourself. Issue of allegation of vote buying has not come into my attention. And we just completed this exercise yesterday. We are expecting to have all the committees submit their report, and the party leadership will consider the report, and the necessary steps will be taken. Mind you, we are here to get Central Region done, and when we are done with Central Region, then the opportunity will come for the party to put in place another arrangement to ensure that we have a very successful National Annual Delegate Conference somewhere in July to elect our national officers.
Dr. Mensah, let me ask you this. The fact that we've seen new executives, old and new, coming together in these elections. What does this mean for the fortunes of the NPP in the 2024 elections as far as the breaking the 8 is concerned?
Thank you, Asha. I think that, Evans, let me say, I actually praised you for the recent one, that it was well put out. Obviously, the earlier one was, not as cleanly put together as this one. So that was a praise, actually. Okay. Well, actually, I think that it sends a signal. Obviously, the NPP is bent on doing something that, even in the Western world, it's difficult for political parties to do. I mean, if you look at the US elections, for example, it's been a very long time. None of these parties have been able to hold power, beyond 2 terms. If you go to England, where they don't have that kind of 4-year, obviously it's open, the maximum that Tony Blair could do was 2.5, terms. So being able to break the 8 is quite, a Herculean task. Nevertheless, they can do that, of course, depending on their preparation. Now, the reason why you see a very keenly contested, internal elections, I think it stems on about 3 issues. Firstly, you're looking at the NDC's performance in 2020, just ended elections, as compared to 2016, which it was almost like a watershed moment for the NDC, because obviously there was almost a whitewash of that particular election by the NPP. The resounding victory, wasn't repeated. Of course, it makes sense, because when the government are in their second term, you don't expect them to have that resounding victory. But the NPP itself was very bold in how they could actually contest that particular election and come out winning. But it didn't turn out to be like that. And especially if you look at the promises that Ashanti region offered, where the chairman was talking about 47, and the NDC could actually break into that. It was somehow disappointing for them, and so people are gearing towards new ideas. Now, secondly, the NPP's own performance, as I said, again, wasn't as they expected. Now, when you look at the performance in government, I think there is a lack of confidence in it, which is completely different from the beginning. I mean, the first 4 years, they were very buoyant. Now, the second term, there had been quite a little bit of, carefulness in how they use the word transformation. They use the word, kind of depicting that there's a very high sense of performance. Partly they assign that, or they ascribe that to COVID, and of course, in recent times, to Russia and Ukraine. But I'm sure that within the party itself, they know that the performance that they expected hadn't been. And so people are looking forward to new ideas, fresh faces that could actually jolt not only the activists and then the internal party support bases, but of course, to be able to persuade Ghanaians that they still need another time to do what they want to do. And then, of course, I think everybody's expectation of, now that COVID seems to be over, and countries seems to be turning the economies on the other side, everybody's expecting that we can have a leadership that can drive Ghana also into the geopolitical system. So I think that these are the expectations. The need for fresh ideas, the need for fresh thinking, the need for fresh faces has actually made this internal contest very, very keenly contested. And I think going forward, we're going to see the same thing reflected in the nationals.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Kobi Mensah is political marketing specialist. Evans Nemako is director of elections for the NPP. I mean, this is a conversation we'll be having more on the NPP's fortunes as far as breaking the 8 is concerned. I'm grateful that you joined us.